Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Craig D, host of the Real Talk Radio Show. I want you guys to go to my website, therealtalkradioshow.podbean.com, and listen to this show. This is a very, very good show. I talked about reasons why black men don't go to church. Now, we know this is a topic that's probably been discussed for generations, but the fact of the matter is black men, we don't go. And there are a plethora of reasons why we don't go. There's not just one. I mean, there are a lot of reasons that we as black men have for not wanting to participate in organized religion. Not that we don't believe in God, not that we're any less spiritual than you ladies, not that we don't think that there is a higher power. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of black men have some serious problems with the church. And I discuss these in detail in this show. But I can't play the show on YouTube because the music is copywritten and they will mute the track. So I need you guys to go to the realtalkradioshow.podbean.com and listen to the entire show. Very, very good show. But I'm going to play a portion and I'm going to put a little music on here just to make it sound a little bit better. But go to the website if you want to hear the entire show. Okay? Peace. By John W. Fountaine. And the article is entitled "No Place for Me." I still love God, but I've lost faith in the black church. Wow. I read this article, man, probably about 4, maybe 5 years ago. And the article spoke to my heart because John was saying the exact same thing that I was thinking. I just didn't have the vocabulary. I could not put it into words. But the article is extremely deep, and I'm going to put a link up to the article on my site, so you guys make sure you read it. But again, the article is entitled "No Place for Me. I still love God, but I have lost faith in the black church." And I wanted to do this show in light of some email responses that I have gotten from the last show we did. You know, the last show we did was entitled "Is the Church Keeping Black Women Single and Lonely?" And I did that show after reading an article written by Deborah Cooper, who declared it was her impression, or her declaration rather, that the black church is responsible for keeping black women single and alone. And she made some interesting observations. I really enjoyed the article. I could appreciate it, and I do agree with a lot of what she said. But I don't think the church is solely responsible for keeping black women single and lonely, but I certainly think that the black church assists in keeping black women single and lonely. And we talked about that on the last show. And we talked about, I mentioned in the show, why black men don't go to church. Because let's face it, people, let's face it, ladies, that's a fact. You went to church, yes, you went to church today, right? You went to church today. And you looked around and you saw there weren't many guys there. So why is it that black men don't go to church to the extent that women do? Are we less spiritual? I mean, do we love God any less? I don't think so. So there has to be some practical reasons. There has to be some reasons why we don't go. So I'm going to share some of those with you today. Now let me say this. There's not one absolute general reason, but there are a plethora of reasons that black men have for not going. Some may be personal, some may be secular, whatever the case may be. So we're going to talk about some of those today. But let me mention this, man. Do you guys remember Carlton Pearson, the guy who was singing the song at the beginning, telling the story about Mother Sherman? You guys remember him? Carlton Pearson was a big time preacher back in the late 80s and early 90s, based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I mean, Carlton had it all. He was sitting in the lap of luxury. He was plugged in with Oral Roberts and Billy Graham and, I mean, just numerous televangelists and big-time white ministers. I mean, Carlton was like the T.D. Jakes, the Eddie Longs, the Creflo Dollars of today. Carlton was like that back in the late 80s, early 90s. This cat had Azusa conferences. Like T.D. Jakes has the Megafest, he had what was known as the Azusa conferences, and it was based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. This cat had it made, man. I mean, he was a big-time preacher. And Carlton lost it all. And it's really sad how he lost everything, because Carlton said that he was sitting in his lavish home in Tulsa watching a big 60-inch plasma TV, and he was watching what was going on in Rwanda, when the Tutsis and Hutus were fighting. You guys have seen Hotel Rwanda. And he said he was watching that, not the show Hotel Rwanda, but what was actually going on. And how these black people were just being mistreated by each other. How we were really just mistreating each other. And he said he saw little babies and mothers with pot bellies, little babies with pot bellies just wandering aimlessly through the desert. And you know, we've been taught to think that those people, they're Muslims and they're going to hell because they haven't accepted the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So whatever happens to those people, it is what it is. You have to accept Jesus. I mean, that's what I've always been taught. You know, you ain't going to heaven unless you believe in the Trinity, in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Well, Carlton said he began to question that because he could see in these people's eyes the hell that they were in. I mean, these people had absolutely nothing. These poor black people had nothing. They were wandering aimlessly across the desert. Nothing to eat, no home to go to, just nowhere to go. The mothers, the children, these little skinny babies were looking in the eyes of their mothers with you know, and he said he just felt hopeless. And he could see the hopelessness in these people and in their eyes. And he said to himself that that's hell. He said he had a revelation that came to him and said, that is hell right there. What those people are experiencing is hell. And that's the message that Carlton began to preach. That the heaven and the hell that we've been taught all our lives may not necessarily be the way it is. He began to preach that message and they kicked him out. Oral Roberts, everybody else, Billy Graham, everybody kicked this man out of the church. They took everything he had. Everything. He lost it all. Simply because he began to question what we've always been taught. The man lost it all. He gave it all up because he was committed to what he believed in. And again, he lost everything. I mean, they basically kicked him out of the Pentecostal denomination. He lost his church. He lost all his friends. Church folks now, they just basically kicked this man out and left him alone. And it's really sad, man. And you can read about his story online. You can see his story on msnbc.com. You can go to Google and type in what happened to Carlton Pearson, and you can see his story. And it's sad, man. It's truly, truly sad. But anyway, we're going to have a good time on today's show. Again, we're going to talk about the article that John Fontaine wrote called No Place for Me. I still love God, but I have lost faith in the black church. And my spin on it is going to be why black men don't go to church. It's going to be a very good show, so make sure you stay tuned in for this one. And today's show is brought to you by Hattie's Tamales, 3576 Kirby Parkway in Memphis, Tennessee. Make sure you go by and check out Hattie's Tamales, the best food you've ever eaten, best customer service you will ever experience. Go by, see Chauncey at Hattie's Tamales and tell Chauncey that Craig D sent you by. Okay. Again, I wanted to do this show because of some of the email responses that I received from the last show. And some of the vitriolic and hateful and mean-spirited emails that were sent. I mean, I have been called an atheist and agnostic, and I just simply don't know Jesus. And the heartfelt sorrow that these people have for me because I simply just don't know Jesus. I mean, you should read some of these comments. And it troubles me because these same people who are sending these emails to me are probably the same ones who are sitting in church every Sunday and doing everything under the sun. And I don't know Jesus according to them. And I probably know more Bible than all of them put together. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I was raised in the church, like most of us were. Let's face it, most black people, black men and women, we were raised in the church. My grandfather was a Baptist minister, so I had to go. I didn't have a choice. Again, my mom went every Sunday, but my dad did not go. We talked about that on the last show. But I didn't have a choice. The kids, we really did not have a choice. We had to go because mom went. Granddaddy was a pastor. That's the way it was. I sat on the mourner's bench. You guys remember the mourner's bench. You had to sit on that bench if you hadn't accepted the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ in your life. At those revivals, you had to sit on the mourner's bench, and people had to pray for you until you finally felt something.